page. It'll be a Festivus miracle.
Hey everybody! Greetings. Oh, abrupt stop to the music. Hey, welcome. If all is going as planned, we are the Mount Rushmore podcast, and we are doing our second, actually this is our third stream of our podcast. We've been doing this podcast for 5 or 7
6 years.
6 years. But we've just got back into streaming out of public demand. Really, they want to see our faces. Probably due to pending court cases, they would like to see our faces and confirm that we are the ones. It's kind of like a police lineup. And it is a police lineup because we have some really awesome dudes here. I am Jeff, and over here there's my buddy right here. He's
Michael.
Okay. And
Howdy.
This guy over here, he's
Richard. Hello.
Richard. And
Jeff is going off script.
I'm going way off script. And we are collectively the Mount Rushmore podcast. And this episode is one in which we, as normal, debate and deliberate the most ubiquitous aspects of different topics. And this week is no different. And we are going to debate and deliberate the Mount Rushmore of fictional countries. Michael, you chose this topic. Justify it.
I don't know.
Tell the audience.
I don't know. I'm used to talking to you. I'm used to looking at you in the eyes, and now I'm looking at a thing that says my name on it. And I'm pretty vain, but even that's a bit much for me. I don't know exactly why. I think this was one of those things that I'm sure I saw. Oh, you know what? It's probably one of my choices that is the ultimate justification, or made me think of other ones. But we've done a lot of fictional everything, and why not countries? They deserve,
deserve love too.
They deserve love too. A country sometimes can have its own sense of character, or often in movies and books and whatever, they're stand-ins for real places when you kind of don't want to use the real name of a place. Sometimes you don't want to offend. Some places it's like it's a fantastical place that you just have to invent because there's no place like it in the world. Other times it's like I want to talk about this country in the Middle East, but I don't want to offend like Saudi Arabia, so it's going to be called like Quitar.
Yeah.
A Baraka, or so, you just change it. So
Saudi Arabia,
where you're just like, we're just kind of fudging it a little bit, because
it's like you wind up with the Dr. A, the Walmart brand version of that country.
Yeah, Dr. Schneem, Dr. Pibb, Mr. Soda. I would also say that's funny about this topic for me is more and more the country that we live in has seemed to be a fiction. The idea, the concept.
That was one of my notes, was the concept of the United States. Count as fictional?
Yeah.
Question mark?
I mean, are we allowed to choose New Zealand? Because I don't think that place really exists. All the people are like really nice from there. Yeah. They're really sensible. They have this fantastic,
Well, they're all hobbits there, right?
All hobbits there. It's all, the geography of the place is out of this world. And, I think it's all like green screen.
Yeah.
I think the people are just like, Australians doing an extra accent.
I would have to say that it seems fictional countries like the fictional country of New Zealand all seem much more manageable. They're so tiny, they're so small, they're cute, and maybe that's one thing that befalls a great empire like the United States, is that it becomes so big it's unyielding. But since this is your topic, Richard, I would like for you to start first with your choice of a fictional country, and I'll see if I can bring up whatever illustration we may have.
All right. So my first choice, and I had a couple of choices that came to mind right away, then a couple of ones that I sort of had to as we would say in big business, ideate on for a while. That's a real good marketing term that I just dropped in there. So my first one was maybe the most obvious one, Wakanda.
Good choice.
Not on your list? Wow, that's surprising. My voice just went up an octave.
No, I definitely thought of Wakanda, and then I chose another Marvel
comic book one.
Property.
Yeah, I figured there are many to choose from, so I figured you wouldn't get you wouldn't lose anything in not picking it.
Yeah.
Me being kind of the big dumb MCU is pretty much what I know about Marvel. Wakanda for me.
Okay, what are the reasons that you were drawn to Wakanda?
Well, I just love this concept of this incredibly technologically advanced society that they've managed to keep hidden thanks to their technology. And, purpose, instead of taking a leading role on the world stage, has just become this insular, just very, very much their own, literally almost their own world. And obviously in Black Panther, throughout the course of the movie, that's part of the kind of ongoing plot and sort of the push and pull between, should we go out there and be more open and honest about who we are on the world stage and kind of open people up to all these technological innovations and mounds of vibranium that we're sitting on? Or should we continue to be insular? Should we wind up using our technology to fund, rebel fighters around the world? That would be the Killmonger version of it. But I just was very drawn to this idea of when you have a country that is so advanced, is your obligation to the people of Wakanda, or is it to the world to be a global citizen?
Yeah.
And that's ultimately kind of, I think, a lot of what Black Panther is about.
I think it's also fascinating to me, Wakanda as depicted in Black Panther is not a product of colonialism. It has had much of its treasures plundered by the Western world of European people.
Yeah.
But the Afro-Futurism in the design is so unique to Marvel, and it's such a cool thing to have depicted in the superhero universe, which is usually flag waving, red, white, and blue,
Right.
that kind of thing. So that's a neat thing to see.
I mean, and obviously, I know that the concept of Wakanda kind of means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I totally get why. Like you said, the look of Wakanda is just striking and unique. It's this very Afro-futurist sort of thing, like you said. I just think that the idea of it is really great, and the execution of it in Black Panther is pretty much flawless.
Yeah, it's superb. It's I think the entire country as depicted. It's very interesting in that they cloak themselves with their technology from the world, but then they also cloak themselves within this framework of being this very poor nation as well. They put out this image to the world that they don't want anybody to really think about them all that much, and they literally don't want people to think about them and what they can offer. And one of the real gems of the Marvel Universe.
Yep.
Okay, all right, cool. That is Richard leading off on Michael's topic. If you are listening at home via the podcast or in your car or whatever, this is a new thing that we have. Hopefully you are a longtime listener, but we are starting back up again doing some streaming shows. So you now have the option, if you are just a podcast listener, to see these shows streamed. So we are very grateful to have you come find us out there on Facebook, where we'll be streaming, and I guess we could also repost these on YouTube if we get our act together. So thanks for listening, and turn into a podcast watcher if you would like to. So this topic is the Mount Rushmore of fictional countries, and Michael chose it. Now Michael gets to let us know his first choice.
Okay, so my first choice, since you talked about Wakanda, I'll talk about Genosha, which is a country, fictionalized country in the Marvel Universe. It hasn't really appeared in the movies very much. Maybe it was in, I think it was in one of the X-Men movies. But it is a kind of apartheid state country where it's run by humans, but they have a gigantic mutant population, and even more so, they have a mutate population, which is where they basically took mutants, they take their DNA, they boil them down, and they create these kind of this slave kind of horrible slave state within the country, where a lot of these people don't have proper human rights and all this stuff. And if anybody does escape from the country, they kind of send out like bounty hunters to bring them back. And kind of like Wakanda, they're very highly technological and very, they try to put out a good face, but they're very insular. They're very protective of how the very wealthy of the country are, and they're like not ashamed by the way they treat the mutants of their country. And it takes, obviously like the X-Men to bring them down and to kind of topple the government in the country. It later becomes like a kind of safe house or kind of bastion or like a place where mutants can kind of live in peace or live just amongst themselves without this sort of threat after the government was overthrown. And eventually Magneto becomes like, I don't know if he's king of the island or ruler of the island. And it ultimately has like this really like tragic end when like this giant sentinel comes and like kills 17 million mutants. Just horrible. It's like all, but it becomes this like, this place where even these kind of supposed safe places for mutants aren't ever safe. The mutant analogy often is, for marginalized people and minorities. The mutant can take so many different forms. You could, and I think having a specific state or country, it's just like the mutant country, is pretty interesting.
Yeah. I wonder sometimes some of these fiction casts holds up a mirror to reality, and in some cases, I think these fictional domains are a representative of something that did exist in the world.
Oh, for sure. This is the country of Genosha in Marvel Comics is like set off of the east coast of Africa, kind of around like Madagascar, the Seychelles or something. And it's definitely meant as a commentary on South African apartheid at the time. The writer Chris Claremont, I don't think, was really subtle about it. I think it's, specifically where it's even located in just off of Africa is like, okay, this is what they're kind of dealing with. But you often, like we kind of talked in the beginning, sometimes you don't want to just say like, okay, well, this is happening in South Africa. Let's create our own country where we can talk about this issue and then have its own personality, have its own people, have its own culture and everything, much like Wakanda,
Right.
Hey, John Stead and Ron Adolph Jr., I want to thank you guys for watching. And if you contribute at the $500 a month level,
you'll get a tote bag or something.
We'll print out all the Mount Rushmore podcasts and send them to you
as a book.
No, just kidding. We don't need your money. We need your input. We would love to find out if you have any fictional countries from anything, movies, TV, comics, cartoons, whatever you got. Put it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And anybody else who's come across this, please put it in the chat. Let us know what fictional country you would like to see us debate, possibly. So with that, Richard is going to let us know his second.
All right, my second one, the other one that came to me pretty much right away was Tomania, the fictional country that Adenoid Hinkle runs in Charlie Chaplin's 1941 film, The Great Dictator.
Okay, what set you this far back to dig this one up?
Well, it's one of my favorite movies, full stop. And in terms of classic movies, it's right up there as one of my favorites. I think, as Michael said, there are times when filmmakers or comic book creators or writers or whoever it happens to be, sometimes it can be too real if you set it in the actual country where something is happening. So whether it's South Africa and apartheid or the Holocaust and Nazi Germany, it could be almost seen as cutting too close to the bone if you actually set it there.
Okay.
Because then it looks like you're trying to make. I think it makes it seem like you're trying to make fun of this horrible thing that's happening.
Yeah.
If you're making something like The Great Dictator, which is satire but also funny in a lot of ways. So if you set it in a made-up country with a made-up, not quite Nazi party and a not quite Hitler, then you have that kind of freedom to be able to get away with a little bit more.
Yeah. You can also get Mussolini in there.
You can get Mussolini in there. You can get the whole cast of everyone's favorite cast of characters.
Yeah, yeah. What a fun choice. It's hard for me to recall what exactly we knew about the atrocities that were happening at that point, because for a guy like Mel Brooks to satirize Adolf Hitler and Nazis and things, and
right.
for Steven Spielberg to have an archaeologist punch him in the face, we're far enough away from that. But I forget from a time. Do you recall at what point?
Chaplin has said he did when this came out. No one knew like the extent of what was happening, death camps and things like that. He had friends who were in Eastern Europe who were telling him kind of, hey, here's the things that are going on. We're being put into ghettos. This is really bad. But he basically came out and said if he knew how bad things really were, there's no way he could have made that movie. It's just there's just no possible way you can grasp with how do you make the Holocaust funny.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Unless you're Jerry Lewis and you're doing The Day the Clown Cried. See, that we can make fun of.
That's inadvertent.
But we're not making fun of the Holocaust. We're just making fun of Jerry Lewis trying to do something serious with the Holocaust.
It seems like Chaplin too also had a personal grooming bone to pick with Hitler because he stole his mustache. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I came across when I was reading is that basically Chaplin thought that got some feedback from United Artists, which was his company that he worked with at the time, that
I think he owned.
He owned it. He was part owner
Clark
of
Gable
it.
And Mary Pickford, or Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford.
Yeah. And that sort of the messages he was getting from the studio was, we don't think we can do this in England because at the time England was still under the strategy of appeasement, so they didn't want to be seen as doing anything that would piss Hitler off.
Wow.
This was like in '39 when it was being made, right before the war kind of went nuts, and that they were afraid that it wouldn't be able to be played in America either because America was trying to stay neutral in the war at that time.
Wow.
So there was like this he had to invest like $1.5 million of his own money into getting this movie made, which back then was just an insane amount of money.
The sets are pretty outrageous. They're pretty amazing.
It was so much of his money that he had to actually start dressing like his tramp character.
He did.
Going forward, he had no more clothes. Those were his clothes. That's all he had left.
All he could
really
smoke.
Sad,
all he could smoke were the little stubby cigar bits that he could find.
He was eating shoes, but for real because he had no more money.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank our buddy Ron Adolf Jr. On the chat, who was watching on Facebook, and hopefully sharing and resharing and telling everybody he knows about this, because he came up with a great suggestion of a fictional country. Maybe it's even real now. It's Anvilania from Animaniacs.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Like that.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your contribution to this dialogue, and encouraging us. We appreciate anybody who encourages us in our conversation. So we are at the bottom of the second inning, and that's the most I know about sports. And I know Michael Winfield is going to share his second choice.
Okay, my second choice is, I think this is the country, thinking back, this is the one that kind of created the idea for the topic, which was the fictional country of Verde, the South American, maybe Central American. They're never really specific on it, and I think that's the point. It's a country that's featured in the movie Commando.
Michael, right now our image is covered up by an image of the Teutonic muscle-bound man. Is this Valverde, do we think?
No. That's a point in the movie.
Looks like Griffith Park. Okay.
Yeah, it's like Catalina Island.
Okay.
Well, so it was featured in a couple different movies. One, Commando, pretty famously. Also, Die Hard 2.
Okay.
And potentially it might be the country that they go into in Predator. I think the writer Shane Black kind of assumes it's that, but they never quite say it. I'll go one by one. In Commando, they're trying to overthrow the government, as you do, and they need John Matrix, the Arnold Schwarzenegger character.
Such a stupid name. Yeah. Oh my God.
They kidnap his daughter, and they try to
Lincoln Hawks.
Yeah, and try to blackmail him to going down to Valverde to assassinate the president, to take over. Of course, he never makes it down there. He makes it as far as like trying to find where the current guy that they're going to install in the dictatorship of Valverde is, and it's like a nice house in Catalina. I mean, really, it's just he takes a seaboat, he takes a seaplane over there with Ray Dong Chan, and he blows shit up. And then it's also featured in Die Hard 2, and it's another sort of situation. Basically, Valverde creates dictators, people trying to take over the dictatorship, militaristic juntas, and like just everything that they're trying to do is just basically just somebody's trying to take over from somebody else. And the big plot behind Die Hard 2 is they're trying to reinstall some sort of big military mucky-muck. Mm-hmm. And they have, all this stuff. Nonsense. It doesn't matter. The point is that they need a country that they can do this, they can tell these stories of.
Yeah.
But they can't say,
Nicaragua.
It's in Nicaragua.
Yeah. I feel like that is the Valverde's equivalent of the 555 area code in movies. like nothing personal against. The studio just needs something to put in there. Insert. What I love about this is it also feels like in the pecking order of Hollywood, there's like maybe like big studio heads, and then there's like producers, and there's these high-powered directors, screenwriters way down here. But standards and practices lawyer, he's way down at the bottom, past like the guard at the gate who doesn't let Pauly Shore into the studio. He's that guy, but that's the guy saying, nope, you can't use Nicaragua.
Yeah.
You have to use Valverde.
That's funny.
This
funny.
Guys, this movie is funded by the Nicaraguan government. We can't.
We can't.
Well, I imagine too that's true. They have to film some of these things, some of these scenes somewhere, and you don't go actually filming in the country that you're like slagging.
Yeah, that's bad form. That's very bad form. Okay, so this is the halftime, and if I am doing this correctly, I'm currently playing the theme music to our halftime, and I doubt I'm doing this correctly, but I will, at this point, implore you, if you're listening on the podcast, to go back and download, rate, and review past episodes. And if you're watching currently right now the stream, do us a solid and give us a suggestion as to which fictional country you favor the most. We would love to hear what's on your mind, and that's true actually ongoing with the Mount Rushmore show in general, is that we love to dialogue with our listeners and viewers. Past suggestors have been on the show, so it could happen to you. Worse things could happen to you than being on the Mount Rushmore show.
I mean, it's mostly because 280 something episodes in, we're sick of talking to each other about this.
Absolutely.
We're just the bickering. We're just behind the scenes. It's like, what are we gonna record? It's like, put it out to the people.
That's true.
The people need to tell us, because what we're gonna do next. Mount Rushmore of T-shirts that we've worn on
on air.
Podcast, yeah.
This podcast is something we didn't want to do. It's been mandated by a therapist. They said, you guys just talk it out on a podcast. I'm going to stop what has probably been the halftime music that didn't play.
Or possibly start it.
Or start it. I don't know.
Who knows?
Who
can tell?
I'm on the ones and twos and maybe not putting music out there when I think I am. So we are going to go into our second half. Anything else we want to tell these guys before we go into our second half? I'm going to take a look at the chat. To see
No, I don't know.
Okay.
No, I think we just appreciate you guys watching.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out new things that we can do. Maybe some stuff that would be specific just for the live streams. So maybe give you a little bit more incentive to tune in, even if you do listen to the podcast on the regs.
I think an idea that's been floated out there is strip Mount Rushmore podcast, where if we have the same choices, we got to take off an item of clothing.
I think what has been requested is the anti-strip.
Oh.
We just put more clothing on every time we make a choice. Just more cover.
We'll have some clothing racks with an array of sweaters, and trench coats, and things like that our fans demand. All right, at this point, if you just tuned in, and why would you be? We are discussing the Mount Rushmore fictional countries. What's the difference between fictitious and fictional?
I think it's
means of fiction.
Yeah, fictitious. I think means made up.
Made up.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. I think fictional means it's part of a work of fiction.
Yeah.
But I think fictitious just means that it's not real.
Yeah, the country that your 4-year-old or my 4-year-old creates.
Yeah.
Where's that bad guy from? Volcano land, and you're like, okay,
All right,
good
kiddo.
enough.
All right, kiddo. So that means that Richard is going to let us know his third choice.
All right, this might be my silliest choice. But
Wait, I got theme music.
it is the sovereign nation of Cobra Island
Oh my God!
from G.I. Joe.
Wow. Okay.
A island that was created by the G.I. Joes being tricked into triggering a fault line in the Gulf of Mexico and causing this previously undisclosed island, or previously non-existent island, to rise out of the seas like a reverse Atlantis.
And do you have? Would you have the opportunity to describe what we're seeing on this map at all? I know you can barely see it from.
Well, that map is basically what we're looking at is an ad for the
It's tourism. The tourism board.
the tourism board. Come visit scenic Cobra Island. No, I believe that is an ad for the Cobra Island playset from the 80s, which I know the G.I. Joe people were very reluctant initially to do a Cobra Island or even do action figures of any of the villains.
The bad guys. Yeah.
Yeah, they thought that they wouldn't sell, and it wound up that they wound up selling like 40% of their merchandise.
Yeah.
Was all of the bad guys.
The villains' vehicles are so important. They're the best. They're the best things.
They're the best stuff.
The
Yeah,
Cobra hiss, the tank, all of it.
absolutely. So once Cobra Island was created, Cobra winds up taking this over. They wind up convincing enough world leaders, mainly third world sort of despots and banana republics and what have you, to recognize them as a sovereign nation.
Yeah, one of the dictator from Verde was there.
I'm sure he was
Invited him.
involved. Yeah. And so that's how Cobra Commander, and other leaders within Cobra are able to have diplomatic immunity, because they're not just random bad guys.
They're ambassadors.
They're ambassadors and leaders of this sovereign nation. And I would love to see the debate in the United Nations when the subject of should Cobra Island become a voting member of the UN. Well,
Who do they send? Who does Cobra Commander
Baroness.
send as the ambassador?
I think Baroness, not Destro.
yeah, Baroness is a
Baroness,
good choice. Yeah.
So Tomax and Zamoth, the two twins that just talk over everybody.
They might be good choices. If
Dr. Mindbender is out there just just shooting down everybody.
Can you see him just hanging around? Where's the United Nations is Manhattan or whatever.
Yeah.
Just like just chill on a Central Park and walking around.
And all of a sudden Zartan's out there and you're like, wait a second.
Oh, funny. Okay, so what made you pick this over other?
The idea that it became its own sovereign nation and that they were able to convince enough that just by being the type of people who would sell weapons to anybody,
Yeah.
that gave them enough currency to be able to convince all of these world leaders, yes, you should be a country now. Mm-hmm. It just seems like that there's... Are we sure that's how that works?
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's actually how it would work, but I wouldn't be that surprised if that's how, like, I don't know, the Cayman Islands came to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if there were Cayman Islands 100 years ago. Maybe it just popped up from the earth, and then a bunch of people moved in and said, hey, we're a sovereign nation now. We'll let you do any banking that you want.
Yeah, money
Shady
laundering.
countries. Yeah, come on in. And they said, sure, you're Cayman Islands now. Maybe that's how Cobra Island worked. I don't know.
I love that there are the names on this map. It's just pretty amazing. Like as a kid, I would eat that up too. And it does what's funny is it also has the same kind of structure as a back cover fold out from Mad Magazine. Like
You're right.
You seem like you should fold it together.
Well, listen, I'm looking at this map, this island, and this is everything. This is the type of pirate island that I draw with Felix. Like it has a volcano there. There's a waterfall there that looks like a snake pit. It has a rock for things to get shipwrecked against. Literally, we have like half a dozen of these things just like strewn across his room.
I love the idea that there is a luxury hotel.
Oh yeah.
There is, according to at least the Marvel comic book, G.I. Joe lore. then which mainly is there for, again, third world despots who are there on vacation or buying their arms.
You're
Very North Korean, like, you
in
know.
the Hilton Cobra Island.
Yes.
But of course, there's probably like the
Blackout dates.
there's blackout dates,
Points.
but
Literal blackout dates. You show up and they black you out.
but there's also like the kind of cut rate hotels on the island.
Yeah.
And that's just like
Motel 6.
The beds are literal knives. They're just
Right.
You just get all these diseases, but on purpose.
You just invite the Joes. Are you gonna torture us? No, we're going to put you in the Motel 6 Cobra Island. That was Paul Lynde as Cobra Commander. Okay.
But they do have free Wi-Fi at the Motel 6. The only problem is it's dial-up.
And they steal all your information.
Right. But you know it ahead of time.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Okay, Michael, what's your third choice?
I hate to follow that with like a serious choice of Oceania from 1984.
Oh,
there you go.
The Orwell book about the totalitarian state and how it. Well, I mean, ideally, Oceania is like also what like Cobra Commander is like looking for. He's
right.
He's looking for just a complete and total domination of the world. Anyway, but it's this conglomeration of all these different like. Past states like the United States of America and Great Britain and Australia and Scotland and various parts of the world that are part of what's now just known as Oceania. And there's also, a couple other major large states of Eurasia and East Asia. But what I think is fascinating is that there's like they created this culture and this country that is really decentralized. You're not really part. There's no England anymore. It's Airstrip 1. That's not like a different part of anything else other than part of the gigantic thing that is Oceania. And I think that's part of the whole part is to be totalitarian, to keep all the people down, to keep them thinking the same thing, or else they're going to be killed. And
it's a monoculture.
Yes,
yeah. Okay.
And very frightening. All these other ones that we've been talking about are just delightful. It's hard to follow up Cobra Island with something that is just like horrifying. And obviously, Richard, your second pick from The Great Dictator. That one also is a
horrifying place.
Horrifying place,
Yeah.
but. Orwell created the ultimate dystopian vision of the future, when the state is everything, the country is everything, and you mean nothing to it.
Yeah, yeah. That interesting. Who was it? Hitler's architect, Himmler or Goebbels? Who was the actual? There was a guy who was like
It's Himmler, I think.
Himmler. This idea of this brutalistic. Horrible architecture and geography for people to live in that saps them of any identity.
I recently read something about Germania, the idea of what they were going to turn the capital of Germany into. They were going to transform Berlin into this. The city was going to be called Germania with this gigantic, gigantic oppressive dome that covered it was one of the biggest things that's ever been built, and all these streets and roads that are meant for military parades and not for people, and people would basically walk from place to place underground so that the people themselves would be less as a part of the state and not be seen, and just these horrifying visions of the future that were coming out when especially during the rise of fascism and
I mean, Soviet Union had brutalism, the same kind of it's just in their architecture. It was just all very much not even utilitarianism. It was just here is the grayest, beigest, blockiest architecture you could have because we don't want anyone. There's no attempt to try and have free thought into it. Identity, yeah.
Oh. Okay, Oceania. Ish Oceania?
Yes,
Oceania.
I think that's what it is.
Okay.
It's the name screws you up.
All right. So, Richard, it is time for you to be in the crosshairs.
Oh, no. Is this a new segment we're doing?
Well, here, Felix.
All right,
Richard,
you're
actually
scooch
not
over.
in the crosshairs.
You're not in the crosshairs. Get in the crosshairs.
There you go.
That's what a good sniper does. He whispers to his prey,
Move over.
move over into my target.
They're gonna wing you in the shoulder in the crosshairs. Don't. You're fine.
I am okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Richard, I have yet to determine what the crosshairs are.
Okay.
I spent all my time putting together this graphic, and I really yet determined what the crosshairs are. Okay, all right, Richard, which of your ideas do you like the most so far?
Oh, it's got to be Cobra Island.
Cobra Island. Oh, Cobra Island's just been removed from the consideration.
Wow.
I'm
What?
still
Brutal.
I'm still inventing. What
I don't like this at all.
This is Jeff Hopkins. I am now in the
He put
crosshairs.
himself in the crosshairs.
I
I
just want
love
you to-
this.
This
want
I like
you-
more.
I just want you to know
No,
that-
I like this game.
that I'm trying to.
This is
determine
horrible.
What the crosshairs are.
This is so heartbreaking. That was a guaranteed 3 points for Richard off the board, and I'm loving it.
Michael, you are now in the
Oh,
crosshairs.
fuck. Oh, now I know. See, here's the thing. What do I choose? Because it's going to be the opposite.
Whatever you do, it's gonna.
I feel like that scene in The Princess Bride.
Oh yeah,
You cannot choose one.
yeah, poisoning.
You clearly cannot choose the other.
Which of Richard's choices do you think? No. Okay. All right. I don't know. Which of your choices did you like most?
Of mine so far, my last choice is my favorite.
Wrong. It's Valverde.
Oh,
That is the crosshairs.
Shit.
All right. I don't know what that was, guys, but welcome to the crosshairs.
Love it.
The thing about the crosshairs is nobody knows.
Nobody knows until it's too late.
Until it's too late.
It's gonna be the middle of the night, and you're just gonna get a text or a phone call, and you're like, what's going on? You're in the middle of the crosshairs. Oh,
Crosshairs.
what dream are you having? It's gone.
Bad dream.
Bad dream. All right, Richard, what's your final choice?
My final choice is the Mediterranean island of Mypos
Oh,
Okay.
very fun.
Okay.
from Perfect Strangers.
Okay, I think I have an illustration of a very. Is that?
That's
Yep.
Balky,
Balky, okay.
as he's leaving America or burst.
Yeah, he's leaving Mypos.
He's leaving Mypos to go find his his long lost distant cousin Larry,
Okay.
who looks suspiciously like Mark Linn-Baker. I made this choice because Mypos comes back over and over again throughout the sort of series of Perfect Strangers in Balky, telling stories of what the way they did things back in the old country. You know, whether it's, making Bibi Bopkis or doing the Mypos Dance of Joy. So much of it kind of depends on this fantastical retelling of the way things are on Mypos.
Yeah.
And I, as a kid, Perfect Strangers was one of my favorite comedies. And I just fell in love with the place, even though I guess it's supposed to be Cyprus.
Oh.
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah, they didn't want to offend any of the people from Cyprus.
Yeah, I mean, there's Cypriots out there. They didn't want you to. No, like I said, it was one of my favorite shows growing up. I think the lore of Mypos was built up over seasons upon seasons, and it wouldn't work as well as if he was from Cyprus.
Yeah.
Or they said that. The fact that you've kind of created this alternate world where all sorts of wacky traditions and customs can come from, you don't have to worry about offending anybody. I think it works out well.
Yeah.
They a similar thing was done. I can't remember where. The Betty White character on
Golden Girls.
Golden Girls. She often would do the same thing. Would talk about
It was like Saint Agnes or Saint Olaf. Saint Olaf.
Saint Olaf. Yeah, all of the all of the Golden Girl heads are going to come down on us now. Where she do the same thing, where you can make fun of the people from a specific place that doesn't exist in a way and get off scot-free for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good choice, Rich.
One of my faves from SCTV was the Schmengi brothers.
I thought Lutonia. I had Lutonia on my short list. Yeah.
Yeah, they would say that whenever when they would ever encounter anybody from a vague Eastern European country, they would always laugh because they knew they were making fun of another country, not their own. They knew Lutonia was a stand-in for not
some
their
other
country,
place,
some other
right?
place where those people were idiots.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's a fun fourth and final.
Yeah.
choice there. Mypos.
Are you going to ask me if I like it? Are you going to put me in the crosshairs for it?
I think crosshairs are in the crosshairs. What's in the crosshairs?
The crosshairs.
Crosshairs are in the crosshairs. Next week will be the hot seat or the soapbox or something like
Is
that.
it like Wally George's hot sheet?
All he wants to do is he just wants these little like graphics to come up. He wants like flames are going to be licking up from behind at us, and it's going to be.
I'm trying to get like a little
wait for the
devil
hot seat.
forking you in the butt or something like that.
What was that game show that had the little devil that would come around?
Joker's Wild?
Joker's Wild. He has all these unused graphics. So he's like, I got him. I got to use them.
I'll try to find it if it's.
Yeah.
On the
He's got a whole thing of whammies ready to go.
Viewers and listeners, if you have any fun graphics, email them to the place. Okay. All right. So, Michael, your final choice is what?
Email them to Mount Rushmore at
At funnygraphics.
at internet.
Yeah,
.net.
internet.edu. geocities.angelfire.compuserve.com. Okay. What's the fourth?
We did them all.
We did them all.
Alta Vista.
Okay.
My fourth choice is the fictional and fictionalized, now that we're talking about it, country of Bulgaria from the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, sure.
So at some point, Caractacus Potts takes his two children, Jeremy and Jemima, down to the seaside with Truly Scrumptious, and now I have having a seizure. And he starts telling him a story about Baron Bombast as the ruler of this country called Vilgaria, who wants to come and steal their precious Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and he sends out spies to try to capture it. And then eventually this pirate ship comes along, and it's obviously this is the thing that kids eat up: spies and pirates and things blowing up and people being kidnapped, and their grandpa gets kidnapped by this supposed kind of middle of Germany, Bavarian sort of alpine baron and his horrible baroness wife, because they want this technology, they want this flying car, so they, of course, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang can fly all of a sudden. It can also become a boat all of a sudden, and takes off to land in this kind of Bavarian town that's filled with no children, and just the adventures that happen there, and just like this empty kind of German sort of Swiss Alp sort of town with castles, and it just it's just delicious, just so much fun making fun of that culture that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and it's fun like knowing that was an Ian Fleming, probably a rejected Bond plot line,
Right?
that he just changed.
Yeah, the Baron and Baroness Bombast are just somebody.
Well, Truly Scrumptious is just one off of Pussy Galore. I mean, it's
Right.
So
It's like the PG version of that. Yeah.
it totally is. As a kid, I remember watching that, and it had all of those things that a Bond film did, like an amazing travelogue. Even in the graphic that I pulled.
Yeah, they even have a supercar.
Yeah, the supercar flying over this beautiful European capital or burg or whatever. But
Burg.
yeah. So much fun. And it does seem the time was a little bit. Even as a kid, I kind of wondering what era is.
Yeah,
this
I mean,
exactly?
the movie I think takes place sometime in the 1920s, kind of post-war, I think.
Yeah. After Candy musical instrument technology had reached its certain
Right.
toot sweets had been formed.
But certainly, cars are somewhat new-ish, where Chitty Chitty Bang Bang itself is kind of a refurbished 1909 race car. So it had been kind of, under the weather, had been rusted out and kind of been rebuilt. But it certainly, they don't have all the technology. It doesn't feel like it's, it still feels either pre-war or post World War I. Sorry, not World War II. Somewhere around, I don't know, the teens or the 20s. But yes, Bulgaria itself feels like something out of like 1815 or something. French Revolution is only 15 years old or something.
It almost seems like an isolated mountain town that time
a little fiefdom that
That's fun. Okay. So I want to caution you if you're watching the stream right now, and few are. Let's just face it, very few are. that we are going to take a break, a 15-minute break, and we're going to come back with the Mount Rushmore of Lazy Sundays. But before we do that, we are going to choose. We're going to make some choices here. And out of consideration, because they fell victim
to the crosshairs.
Are Verde and Cobra Island G.I. Joe. So I am going to make some tough choices here, and I'm going to go with Tomania and the Great Dictator. I'm going to go with, you know what? Because life sucks for persons who are deemed by society to be not part of the norm and therefore marginalized, and so fuck that. Let's big ups to Genosha and big ups to everybody living free and having space to be who they want to be. So, and also Wakanda Forever. So we'll go with Black Panther. And why don't we go, because the kid catcher scared the balls off of me as a kid. Vilgaria and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I would like to thank Alamy for loaning me this this copyrighted image for this. So, all right, duders, I'm going to try to remove all the images that I have over our pictures, and I'm going to say this has been the Mount Rushmore of fictional countries. I would like to thank Ron Adolph Jr., and I would also like to thank the other guy who was
John Steed.
John Steed. I would like to thank both of you folks for watching the show. Please tell all your friends and families and frenemies and enemies about the show. And this has been the Mount Rushmore streaming podcast / thing. I, as always, am Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.